Hey there, nice to see ya. I'm trying something a little bit different today, just not really feeling the camera. But right off the bat, I do have a question for you. Have you ever been scared of the bogeyman? Of monsters creeping under the bed, waiting for your toes to dangle over the edge before they gobble them up? Luckily, you have nothing to worry about. Or do you? No, it's okay. Or is it? Everything's gonna be alright. Or... Over time, we grow out of that fear, realizing the worst monsters look very similar to us. We create stories as a symbol of warning to our nascent selves, a red beacon showing us unsavory characters and unfavorable conditions, grotesque monsters that are driven to torture and kill. But what if one of these fables were true? What if the monster of your nightmares existed? What horrific images are conjured up when I tell you that his name was the Sack Man? No. Why? What the fuck is wrong with you? That's disgusting. Why are you like this? You know what? Episode's off. Your gross ass can sit here and think about what you did. The Sack Man is a nightmare fable that exists in many different countries. You got El Hombre de la Bolsa of Argentina and Chile, a murderer who is clearly insane, and everyone just allows him to scoop up naughty children that's not home by sundown. And in Russia and Ukraine, you have the Babe, an old man hiding under the bed with a bag or monster to scoop up misbehaving children. Looks like another urban legend coming true in the news recently. In Korea, you have the Mangtyo Yangam, who is also known as an old man who kidnaps children away in his mesh sack. There's even a lady variant. And in Vietnam, they have Ong Babi, which translates as Mr. Three Bags. Also, my new rap name. In the Netherlands and in Switzerland, you have Christmas editions in Zwarte Piet and Krampus. The first is a servant to Old Saint Nick who gladly steals away naughty children. They have also changed the questionable look of this character in modern times. He's now Sooty Pete for obvious reasons. Krampus worked pretty similar to Pete, except that he was usually depicted as being much more demonic and a lot less racist. He even shares many common traits with the Kappa, or the old buttsucker. And some historians have said that before today's story, the origins of the Sack Man come from the 15th century, when a man would collect babies from the orphanages with a bag or a wicker sack. And it's kinda crazy to think about a dude just wandering door to door like he's trick-or-treating for sugar babies. But it was in Spain where El Hombre del Saco existed, an impossibly ugly and emaciated old man who would collect children in his gunny sack. They would serve as his meal for later. Bernardo Gonzalez Parra would be the true-life victim of the Sacramentecas, a scene so heinous they named it the very official-sounding The Crime of Gador. But who is the perpetrator of this crime? The wandering monster all children feared. Those in Andalusia, Spain would know him as Franco Leona Romero. He was born in 1835, a decrepit old man with a criminal past who is working as a barber in curandera. A curandera is a healer or shaman who uses herbal or spiritual remedies to cure maladies. Sometimes their practices can lead to some very dark places. Bernardo's eventual murder would originally tie to a whole other curandera, one that Leona knew very well. Her name was Agustina Rodriguez. Francisco Ortega El Morono had come to her for a cure. The wealthy farmer had recently been diagnosed with tuberculosis. Watching others with the disease cough up blood and slowly waste away made him desperate to find a cure. Unfortunately, Agustina wouldn't be able to cure it, but she knew someone who did. Enter Leona. He said he would cure the farmer all for the paltry sum of 3,000 reales. A poultice would be made from the body fat of a human child, placed on whatever area they thought was causing the disease. Sometimes they'd drink it. This would be a popular practice at the time. Leona would get Agustina's son Julio in on it, though with the name he had, it made you wonder why. Looking at him made you wonder even more. He was known as El Tonto, or the Fool. Not exactly who I'd pick for a murder plot, but I'm guessing that he was easily led. And on June 27th, 1910, they would enact that plan. The 7-year-old Bernardo was walking by himself on the outskirts of the village. He'd be hard to see under the blanket of the evening stars. Except Julio noticed him immediately. He got the boy's attention, preying on his innocence. Leona slowly crept up from behind. The monster would cover Bernardo's mouth with a handkerchief drenched in chloroform. Julio's blurred grin was the last thing Bernardo would see before being put into the hemp sack. He'd be moved to a nearby house and placed on a table. Bernardo would be held down by Julio and his brother Jose while Leona took out a knife and stabbed the kid in the armpit. His crimson life force would flow over the table into the awaiting cooking pot held by Agustina. She'd hand the blood-filled pot to Ortega, who'd mix it with sugar. He downed the whole thing like a gluttonous vampire. Bernardo was still alive though, but this wouldn't last long. Leona would take him to a location known as Los Poquicas. There, he would grab a large rock which he would bring down upon the poor child's head, crushing it. This horrible old man would then extract the fat and organs to make a compress. This would be directly applied to Ortega's chest like a 6-vapor rub. Leona then topped the ritual off by hiding the child's body in a crevice, and there it would remain unburied and covered with herbs and stones. This seems like this was the last of it. That is, if Leona hadn't gotten greedy. When it came time to dole out the cash, Leona kept most of it for himself and didn't equally distribute the 3,000 as they had planned. This caused Julio to run to the authorities where he would confess that he had seen the body of a child while chasing partridges. Leona's name just happened to come up, and the name didn't have the best standing in the village. Leona was known for his strange practices and illegal dealings. He was the boogeyman you stayed away from unless desperate enough to make a deal with the devil. So when it came time to point fingers, they all quickly steered them his way, and Leona was taken in by the authorities. Soon he would go before the court. Things went downhill quick, and Leona wasn't going down by himself. He snitched on El Tonto. Julio obviously returned the favor in kind. They'd make new excuses and throw each other under the bus. It got so bad that they found no other way out and confessed to the crime. They received various ends. Most would be hung. Ortega and Agustina were included in that. And Julio's brother Joseph received 17 years in prison while his wife was acquitted. And as far as I know, she was distracted on purpose. This was a plan concocted by Julio, so she wouldn't have known. And Julio himself was sentenced to death but ended up getting a pardon due to insanity, which is wild. And I have no idea what happened to him after that. Leona received a far more brutal sentence with death by garrote. Unfortunately, he didn't get to see that end. His old ass dying in prison before getting the slice. And you can see why this brutal slaying can lead to the creation of a horrible boogeyman wandering the countryside, bent and gaunt while half obscured by the moonlight, waiting to snatch you up with his sack, your organs for his potions. But in the end, this buttsucker was ruining the lives of everyone he was supposedly healing. But there was some good to come out of it. In 2000, Kina Jimenez, a dance teacher and artist, bought the cortijo used on that blood-soaked night and restyled it into something much more festive. So if any spirits still rattle in those walls, I imagine it's something akin to the end of Beetlejuice, just, you know, more hips.